Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to completely change how you view your own backyard. We're looking at 10 common weeds that, surprisingly, are actually highly nutritious superfoods. Let's get right into it.
All right, so let's kick things off with a question that really challenges every weekend gardener out there. The folks spending their whole spring pulling and spraying all those uninvited plants. What if the absolute most valuable thing growing in your yard is exactly what you've been trying so hard to destroy? Crazy, right?
Think about it. If you went out and pulled up a bunch of these plants this morning without a second thought, well, you literally just threw away free food. And we're not just saying they're technically edible. In a lot of cases, these wild plants actually vastly outperform the expensive greens sitting in your kitchen refrigerator right now.
Like, we're talking about a 400% markup. Health and wellness brands regularly take these exact same ancient seeds and wild greens, package them up in shiny bags, and mark them up by 400%. Basically just charging you for supply chain convenience. And the wildest part of the whole shebang? This stuff grows entirely for free, totally unprompted, right along your back fence.
So to really wrap our heads around this massive knowledge gap, we're going to break down the astonishing value of these 10 plants into 4 distinct categories: backyard nutritional powerhouses, ancient medicine and survival, gourmet flavors growing free, and finally, relearning the landscape.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Backyard Nutritional Powerhouses.
Take the poor, aggressively attacked dandelion, for example. Botanically speaking, it's not actually a weed at all. It's a highly evolved food plant. Young spring dandelion leaves boast more calcium than a glass of milk, and they pack more iron than spinach. Humans literally ate this stuff for thousands of years before our modern obsession with the perfect green lawn gave us a reason to hate it. Oh, and bonus, you can even roast the roots to make a really solid caffeine-free coffee substitute.
Next up is a personal favorite, Purslane. Let's do a quick comparison with spinach. Purslane contains 5 times the omega-3 fatty acids, offering way more alpha-linolenic acid than literally any other leafy green ever measured. So instead of dropping cash on those expensive algae-derived omega-3 supplements, you could just eat Purslane. It's a tough little succulent that thrives completely unassisted during the absolute hottest, driest months of summer, right when every other salad green in your garden has bolted and turned horribly bitter.
Let's keep building on this with lamb's quarters, or white goosefoot. Get this, it has a staggering 8,000-year track record of human consumption. It packs more protein than spinach and ounce for ounce more calcium than dairy. It just prolifically self-seeds all across America without needing an ounce of human assistance. It offers this really mild, earthy flavor that acts as a perfect alternative to spinach, and it cooks down beautifully in pretty much any recipe you throw it into.
Moving right along to Section 2, Ancient Medicine and Survival.
25%. That is the amount of pure protein that stinging nettle contains by dry weight. I mean, that is just extraordinary for a leafy green. And this is exactly why medieval European peasants heavily relied on nettle soup every spring as a vital survival food to replenish their depleted iron stores after winter. And hey, don't let the name scare you. Don't worry about the sting. Just 30 seconds of blanching in boiling water neutralizes it completely, leaving you with a delicious green that vastly outperforms spinach.
Then there's plantain. Its history is just fascinating. This is a humble little weed that indigenous Americans actually called white man's footprint because it literally adapted and followed European settlement trails. But it has been prized as a powerful anti-inflammatory from ancient Greece all the way to modern pharmacies. Today, its active compounds are quietly used in incredibly expensive commercial cosmetics, and those little seed spikes it grows, they're actually a direct source of psyllium, which is the active ingredient in major commercial fiber supplements sold all over the world.
And here we have chickweed. You know this one, the tiny, star-shaped weed you probably rake out of your garden beds every March. Well, it's actually revered globally. Across Northern Europe, it was a traditional remedy for scurvy. It's packed with saponins that are actively studied for cholesterol reduction. And it is so highly respected in Japan that it's celebrated as one of the 7 spring herbs of Nanakusa. Plus, it has this wonderfully fresh, clean, grassy flavor. Honestly, it requires nothing more than a drizzle of olive oil and a pinch of salt.
Okay, on to Section 3, Gourmet Flavors Growing Free.
Let's consider wood sorrel for a second. It's that tiny clover-like plant growing entirely for free in the cracks of your garden path. It gets this incredibly bright rhubarb-like tang from oxalic acid. And here is the irony. While you are out there sweating trying to eradicate it from your walkway, Michelin-starred restaurants all across Europe are happily paying premium, top-dollar prices for it just to brighten up their absolute highest-end dishes.
Then there's ground elder. Now I know ground elder can be a really infuriating weed, aggressively spreading under your paths and taking over. But listen to this. If you harvest its young, carrot-like leaves in early spring before it flowers and blend them up with some olive oil, garlic, lemon, and nuts, you get this incredibly vibrant pesto. It is literally indistinguishable in quality from a traditional basil pesto. Honestly, eating it is pretty much the most satisfying revenge in all of horticulture.
And we can't forget hairy bittercress. This stuff is truly a living seasoning. The mechanical precision of its exploding seed pods makes trying to weed it completely and utterly futile. So if you can't beat them, eat them, right? You should just eat it straight from the plant. It has this fantastic, bright, peppery kick that's actually closely related to wasabi and horseradish. It makes for the absolute perfect living seasoning to scatter over a hot bowl of soup or to add a nice sharp bite to your everyday salads and sandwiches.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, Relearning the Landscape.
75,000. Get a load of this. A single fat hen plant, which, by the way, is actually the exact same species as lamb's quarters, just harvested later for its mature seeds, can produce 75,000 seeds in one single growing season. And it does that entirely on its own, without a drop of human intervention, watering, or fertilizer. And when you put fat hen seeds head-to-head with expensive commercial quinoa, the results are mind-blowing. Their amino acid profiles are totally comparable, and the protein content is exceptionally high for both of them. But here's the kicker. The agricultural input required for fat hen is literally zero, and the cost to you is free. When you look at it that way, it's pretty obvious why modern agricultural researchers are looking at this ancient, nutty-flavored weed as a massive, game-changing opportunity for low-input farming.
The legacy of fat hen goes way, way back to the Neolithic period. In fact, its seeds were actually found inside the 2,000-year-old stomach of the Tolan man. It reliably fed massive populations across Europe and Asia as a staple, everyday grain in the ancient era. This just goes to show that the future of sustainable food might very well be the exact same plant you yanked out of your vegetable bed this morning.
Ultimately, what we are really facing here is a massive knowledge gap. But it's a gap not in the plants themselves, but in what we were taught to see when we look down at the ground. Our modern sanitized world has spent decades unlearning what literally every single foraging generation before us just knew natively, that nature is constantly, quietly offering us a free, uninvited bounty, if we just choose to open our eyes and see it.
I want to leave you with a final, really powerful realization drawn directly from our source material today, and it's simply this. The yard is not empty, it is growing. The space all around your home, the edges of your lawn, the cracks in the driveway, it's already a thriving grocery aisle, if you only choose to recognize it as one.
So, let's wrap up this explainer with one last question for you to chew on. Which of these so-called weeds are you going to stop spraying and start eating? Seriously, go look out your window right now, take a really good look at what's growing out there. And more importantly, how are you going to cook it tonight? Thank you so much for exploring this with me, and I really hope you never look at your backyard the same way again.